The name Nestlé sits on countless store shelves, a brand many have grown up with, associating it with nourishment and home. This trust has been carefully built over a century. But behind this trusted name lies a darker, more complex truth. It's a story of power and how its cost is measured not in dollars, but in dried-up wells, cleared forests, the lives of child laborers, and the health of infants in the world's poorest places. This is the story of the gap between the promise and the reality. When a corporation becomes as powerful as a nation-state, who holds it accountable? Everyday products connect us to a vast global supply chain, often shrouded in shadow. We will pull back the curtain using the company's own history and the records of those who have challenged it. Our journey will take us from West African villages to Swiss boardrooms, examining the facts and hearing from those directly impacted. Nestlé's story begins in the 19th century with a noble mission, providing a safe alternative for infants who couldn't be breastfed. Through relentless expansion, it absorbed competitors and diversified into everything from chocolate and coffee to pet care, becoming a trusted household name. This growth was fueled by immense investment in marketing, creating an image of reliability, health, and family values. The company evolved from a trusted Swiss brand into the world's largest food and beverage powerhouse, shaping global dietary habits and industry standards. With great size came great political power. Nestlé used its vast resources to influence trade policies, lobby governments, and shape regulations in its favor. Aggressively expanding into developing countries, its strategy was to create a market and establish dominance. This brought enormous profits, but also led to profound controversies. One of the most significant was the global push into infant formula, bringing the company into direct conflict with health organizations and activists worldwide. The Nestlé baby formula scandal stands as one of the most infamous chapters in corporate marketing. In the mid-20th century, the company began an aggressive campaign promoting infant formula in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. Marketing portrayed formula as a modern, scientific choice superior to breastfeeding. Company representatives, sometimes dressed as nurses, offered free samples that undermined confidence in breastfeeding, a strategy that proved devastatingly effective. For impoverished families, the cost of formula was prohibitive. Many overdiluted the powder to make it last, leading to malnutrition. In communities without clean water, mixing it with contaminated sources caused fatal diseases. Health organizations called it a baby killer epidemic, sparking a global boycott against Nestlé in 1977. After years of pressure, the WHO introduced the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes in 1981. The code set strict limits on formula marketing. Nestlé agreed to the code, but critics still report violations decades later, saying the company uses subtle and indirect promotion. Water is the source of all life. It is also a source of immense profit. Nestlé is the world's largest producer of bottled water. Poland Spring, Perrier, Pure Life. The company's business model is straightforward. Acquire rights to pump water, natural springs, aquifers, municipal sources, bottle it in plastic, sell it back to the public at a premium. While the company markets its products as pure, communities say local water supplies are being depleted for corporate gain. The conflicts follow a familiar pattern. Nestlé identifies a water-rich area, secures permits to extract millions of gallons for a minimal fee, and trucks it away. Soon, wells run dry, rivers shrink, and local ecosystems suffer. From Michigan to small towns in Pakistan, citizens file lawsuits, arguing water is a public trust. But legal battles are arduous. With an army of lawyers, Nestlé is a formidable opponent. Who owns water? Chocolate is a source of pleasure for billions, but for the people who grow its primary ingredient, cocoa, the story is often one of poverty and exploitation. The majority of the world's cocoa is grown on small farms in West Africa, where farmers receive a tiny fraction of a chocolate bar's final price, trapping them in poverty. This desperation creates the conditions for the industry's most shameful secret: child labor. Children are forced into dangerous work, using sharp machetes and exposed to harmful pesticides, often without protective gear. Many are victims of trafficking, forced to work without pay and unable to leave. This is not a secret. Nestlé has acknowledged the problem for over 2 decades, signing pledges to eradicate it. In 2001, they signed the Harkin-Engel Protocol, an agreement to eliminate the worst forms of child labor by 2005. That deadline was missed and extended again and again. Today, children are still found working in hazardous conditions on farms supplying the world's biggest brands. Critics argue these promises fail to address the root cause, the extreme poverty of farmers. As long as they aren't paid a living wage, they will continue to rely on their children. The impact of a global food giant extends far beyond the factory, with an immense environmental footprint. One of the most visible problems is its reliance on single-use plastic. Billions of plastic bottles and wrappers are sold every year, ranking the company among the world's top plastic polluters. Much of this ends up in rivers and oceans, breaking into toxic microplastics. Nestlé pledged to make packaging recyclable or reusable by 2025, but critics call these pledges insufficient and misleading. Making packaging recyclable doesn't mean it will be recycled, especially where waste systems are weak. Environmental groups urge eliminating single-use packaging and investing in reuse and refill systems instead of shifting responsibility onto consumers and under-resourced municipalities. The damage isn't limited to plastic. Nestlé's supply chain links to deforestation for palm oil, soy, and paper. Palm oil, in products from chocolate to noodles, drives rainforest loss in Southeast Asia. Forests are cleared for plantations, wiping out habitat for orangutans and worsening climate change. Nestlé has a no deforestation policy and belongs to the RSPO, yet NGOs keep finding supplier-linked clearing. The company's water bottling depletes local sources and carries a heavy carbon footprint. Energy to extract, process, bottle, and transport water is immense. When scandals erupt, society turns to its legal systems for justice. Yet for a corporation with Nestlé's resources, these systems often prove inadequate. The company masterfully neutralizes legal challenges, employing elite lawyers to outspend opponents like small communities and former child laborers. The scales of justice are not balanced. When challenged on child labor in its cocoa supply chain, Nestlé has successfully argued it's not liable for abuses by foreign suppliers. The company claims it doesn't own the farms, creating a legal firewall that shields it from accountability. This defense has been used to dismiss lawsuits from former child slaves, leaving them with no recourse. Similarly, international codes of conduct, like the WHO's Code on Marketing Breast Milk Substitutes, are often not legally binding, relying on national governments who fail to act, sometimes due to corporate lobbying. Settlement deals also serve to shield the company from accountability. In many civil lawsuits, including those related to water disputes, pollution Nestlé may agree to a financial settlement to make the case go away. These settlements often include a non-disclosure agreement and, crucially, no admission of guilt. This allows the company to resolve the immediate conflict without setting a legal precedent or formally acknowledging wrongdoing. The result is a system where legal and moral evasion becomes a standard business practice. The harm is addressed with a payment, but the underlying system that caused the harm remains unchanged. Behind Nestlé's statistics and headlines are human lives, profoundly affected by decisions made in distant boardrooms. The price is paid by the mother whose baby falls ill from contaminated formula she was aggressively marketed. It's paid by the farmer whose well runs dry while a nearby plant pumps millions of gallons. It is paid by the child in West Africa. A boy is forced to swing a machete on a cocoa farm for little pay, so consumers can enjoy an affordable chocolate bar. His stolen future is a cost. This is part of a systemic pattern. When profit is the main goal, the system externalizes costs, pushing them onto those least able to bear them. This raises a deep moral question. Who is responsible for the human and environmental consequences? The company points to corporate social responsibility programs, sustainability reports, charitable foundations. It highlights efforts to train farmers, build schools, fund recycling initiatives. Critics, however, see these as small gestures, a fraction of the profit earned from the very systems that cause the harm. They argue these programs are mostly public relations, not solutions. The fundamental question remains: who truly pays the price? The answer: the poor, the powerless, and the planet itself. The immense power corporations wield over food and water is not inevitable. It is the result of choices, and different choices can be made. There are clear paths toward a more just and sustainable future, paths that hold corporate power to account. One of the most powerful tools is stronger regulation. Water could be legally defined as a public trust, a fundamental human right, and laws could mandate a living wage for farmers. The marketing of infant formula could be strictly prohibited with severe penalties for violations. Transparency laws could force corporations to disclose full supplier lists, tax payments in every country, environmental impact of operations, making it much harder to hide abuses. Consumer action and public pressure remain a potent force for change. The original Nestlé boycott showed that when enough people raise their voices and close their wallets, companies listen. Informed consumers can support smaller ethical brands, fair trade practices, and environmental sustainability. Activist groups, journalists, whistleblowers expose wrongdoing and keep the pressure on. Investors and financial institutions can drive change by divesting from companies with poor records, signaling that unethical practices are a financial risk. This is not a call to destroy a company. It is a call to reform a system. Demand a world where a child's health matters more than marketing communities' right to water outweighs profit. Every worker is treated with dignity. The future can be different. Corporations should serve society, not the other way around. But this future will not arrive on its own. It must be built by persistent citizens, courageous political leaders, unwavering conviction in a just, healthy world. The choice, ultimately, rests with us.